They fined me $11,400 for weeds, without knowing I was a federal botanist who helped write the EPA standards they violated. I moved into Sycamore Glen with nothing but a field notebook and the ashes of my late wife in an urn beside me. Quiet cul-de-sac, big oaks, decent schools, and a homeowners association that claimed to respect native landscapes. I believed that, until they tagged my backyard restoration project as unauthorized overgrowth. At first, it was a $75 citation. Failure to maintain grass under 3 inches. The letter came taped to my front door, bright yellow, like hazard tape. I laughed, figuring it was a clerical error. Because what they were calling overgrowth was Eryngium yuxifolium, rattlesnake master. A keystone prairie plant. I had the federal permit framed in my office. But then came the fine, $600. Then $1,800. Then another notice, $9,000 in compounded daily penalties. My backyard was a violation, they said. A noxious eyesore. But it wasn't just the fines. It was the way neighbors stopped waving. Then came the email leak. Someone on the board, God bless them, sent me a string of internal emails. One line stood out like a bullet in a loaf of bread. Let's make an example of the weed guy. That's when I knew. This wasn't about my yard. This was a power play. At the next HOA meeting, closed door, members only, I wasn't even allowed in. I waited outside, watching silhouettes move behind drawn blinds. When they came out, they passed me like I was roadkill. I caught the tail end of a whisper. He's not even from here. They were staging a smear campaign. Suddenly, kids avoided my sidewalk. Someone put up a "Keep Our Neighborhood Clean" sign on my street-facing fence. A neighbor I'd helped fix a broken sprinkler wouldn't return my wave. I was the villain in a story they were writing without me. Knowledge nugget number 1, in many states, HOAs can compound fines daily only if the bylaws specify it, and most don't. Always ask to see the original enforcement clause. That night, I pulled every HOA document I had. Cross-referenced bylaws with state code. That's when I spotted it, the name Geraldine Pittman, president of the HOA, and wife of Milton Pittman, a commercial developer. Milton had tried to buy the property behind my house 2 years ago for a drainage easement. The city declined. Now, that land borders my native prairie restoration zone, the same one they're trying to call a nuisance habitat. They weren't mad at my weeds. They were mad I was in the way. The next morning, I drove to county records and pulled the plats. And there it was in plain ink, my backyard restoration overlapped an undeveloped drainage corridor, one that Milton's company had quietly filed to rezone last spring. They were trying to flip conservation land into buildable lots. My yard wasn't overgrown, it was evidence. Then came the knock at my door. 2 men, polos, and clipboards. City compliance officers, or so I thought. But they weren't on file. No ID. Just a printout with "environmental hazard" in 16-point bold. They tried to photograph my urn. I shut the door on them and called a contact at the Environmental Protection Agency. 3 days later, I got a formal apology from the actual EPA. The men weren't theirs. I filed a federal complaint. Knowledge nugget number 2, impersonating a government agent, even with just a clipboard, is a federal offense under 18 U.S. Code Section 912. They tried to bury me with paperwork. Cease and desist letters. Threats of liens. But I knew something they didn't. I wasn't just a retired botanist. I had authored 4 white papers on urban wetland preservation. I'd been flown to DC to advise on the very zoning laws they were trying to twist. I scanned their latest threat, highlighted the false codes, and sent a formal notice. Failure to cease harassment will result in civil and federal action under Title 42. Then I posted the letter publicly, with my annotations. Screenshot this clause and tag a friend who needs HOA armor. No HOA may override municipal conservation zoning without direct variance from the city council. That's when things turned. Emails from other neighbors. One had been fined for wind chimes. Another got dinged for planting milkweed. Turns out, the Pittmans had been tightening control for months, intimidating homeowners, staging votes with fake proxies. We started organizing. Quietly at first. Tuesday night Zoom calls. We called ourselves the Root League. We filed a petition to audit the HOA's finances. Turns out, they were paying a private landscaping firm, owned by Milton Pittman's cousin, triple market rate for weed abatement services. A slush fund. We got city inspectors involved. Real ones this time. 2 days later, the HOA office was raided. Boxes came out. Hard drives bagged. Geraldine tried to claim it was all routine maintenance. But it wasn't. She was indicted. Courtroom was packed. I sat second row, arms crossed, wearing a prairie grass tie. The judge didn't even flinch when I testified. Just nodded. Said, "It's not every day we get a federally credentialed botanist in a zoning case." Knowledge nugget number 3. If you can prove your landscaping project aligns with federal or state environmental goals, HOAs must defer under Supremacy Clause precedent. Geraldine cried. Milton didn't show. The HOA board was dissolved. Fines erased. My yard? Declared a protected habitat zone, untouchable. The best part? The land behind my house, where they wanted to build, has now been converted into a community eco-trail, maintained by volunteers. We named it Eliza's Path, after my late wife. Her ashes fertilized the native soil. She would have loved the monarchs. Funny thing. Even the neighbors who once scowled now nod and smile. One even offered to help tag wildflowers this spring. But last week, I found something. A small, unmarked envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Just a single photo, taken from my backyard, and a sticky note. Nice yard. Shame if someone poisoned it. Next week, I'll tell you about the city that tried to steal a solar farm. Trust me, it gets worse.